The gunners aboard the escort vessels as well as ashore had gone into action, and First Lieutenant Williams noted with more than a little concern that the naval gun crews could depress their barrels low enough to fire at aircraft flying on the deck. Traces flashed past his windshield, and glancing up through his cockpit canopy, he saw strange purple-colored flak bursts erupting high overhead. As it turned out, First Lieutenant Collops had missed his checkpoint when inbound to Hong Kong, and rather than lead his flight in from the northeast at the same time that Williams brought his flight in from the northwest, Collops had been forced to trace the route flown by Williams instead. The first bomb run by Williams and the other 3 pilots in his flight had alerted the Japanese gun crews to the low-flying P-51s. Moreover, their attention had been drawn to the path his flight had flown. Consequently, Collops and the other 3 planes in his flight flew into a maelstrom of anti-aircraft fire. Despite his position as the lead plane, Collops successfully executed his bomb run on a ship southeast of the Kowloon wharves without getting struck by anti-aircraft fire. The second and third planes in his formation got shot to pieces, however, though they managed to drop their brace of 500-pounders before being hit as they pulled out of their runs and banked around to the east. The P-51 flown by Major David H. Houck caught fire, clawed for altitude, and then did a wing-over directly into the harbor. Meanwhile, Second Lieutenant Galen C. Theobald's Mustang trailed smoke as it flew eastward at mast height along the coast of Hong Kong Island, like a clay pigeon for the gunners of HI-87. The tail-end aircraft in the flight, piloted by Second Lieutenant Harold B. Tollett, a repeat visitor to Hong Kong, who had participated in the December 24th raids that sank the Rhine Maru, completed its bomb run against a small freighter. Like Collops, Tollett could not observe the results of his attack. In the confusion and chaos of combat, Collops and Tollett lost sight of the crippled P-51 flown by Theobald. This did not bode well, as none of the Mustang pilots still airborne observed any parachutes, though they did notice more of the multicolored flak bursts exploding harmlessly overhead. IJN gunners often use shells with colored smoke to improve fire control, a fact well known to the Navy Hellcat pilots who had struck the harbor earlier that day, but unknown to the Army pilots of the 118th, who had never encountered IJN warships before, and thus failed to grasp the significance of the colorful exploding ordnance. When Williams landed at Sichuan, he learned that in addition to Houck and Theobald, 2 other pilots from the squadron had gone down while strafing the airfields at Canton. No enemy fighters had challenged the Mustangs over White Cloud and Tien Ho, but the flak had been heavy and accurate. With 4 Mustangs lost, the raids on Hong Kong and Canton had been costly. 4 pilots had gone missing, and at least one of them, Major Houck, was presumed dead. Fully a quarter of the attacking fighters had been shot down, which amounted to an unsustainable 25% loss rate. However, the squadron pilots had dropped 16 500-pound bombs and claimed 2 freighters sunk and 1 escort vessel damaged. They had also fired 11,000 rounds of .50 caliber ammunition at various ships, as well as at half a dozen enemy planes, or dummy aircraft built with bamboo and rice paper, on the ground at Canton. In addition, there was Lieutenant Colonel Hester's truck, which he rather modestly claimed as damaged in the flight intelligence report. As it turned out, the 2 pilots shot down over Canton, First Lieutenant Frank S. Palmer and Second Lieutenant Daniel J. Mitchell, avoided capture and returned to the squadron without injury. Theobald survived as well, albeit with injuries that left him unable to fly. He had nursed his smoking P-51 back to friendly territory before rolling back the canopy and tossing himself overboard. He broke his leg in the jump, but local guerrillas soon rescued him. Major Houck's fate remained unknown. However, Tollett had witnessed the plunge of his fighter into the harbor. He felt certain that Houck had died in the crash. By the early morning of January 16th, the unruly weather in the South China Sea had settled down.